So, John Gears, sure. See the I can share. I like to look. Doesn't matter. I know it. Gotta be careful.
Okay. I call to order the Homewood Board of Zoning Adjustments for the month of June. I'm sorry,
June.
forgot that. Could we go through roll call, please?
Yes. All right, Mr. Gear.
Here.
Mr. Roberts.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Perkel. Mr. Alsabrook.
Here.
Ms. Childs.
Here.
And Ms. Hand.
Here.
Okay.
Has everyone had a chance to read over the minutes from May? Great. We would like to approve the minutes with the correction of Ms. Child
Yeah.
being omitted from the minutes.
Right. Will do.
Great.
So,
All in favor?
yes.
Aye.
Do we need a motion?
Well, you can, a motion, or she can pronounce the minutes approved with the consensus of the board. She can announce.
Okay.
The
Great.
minutes are approved, subject to that clerical correction, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
There are no communications from me, and Mr. Perkel is not here, so we did not have that. Do we have any old business? No. So we will now move on to new business, and the first case we're seeing today is BZA case SV-23-06-01, 311 St. Charles. Oh, I'm sorry. It's BZA case SV-23-06, the 311 St. Charles. Come on up. And we ask that you sign in and state your name, and then that the rest of us we need to make sure to speak into the mic, and that our mics are on.
Okay. My name's Bobby Bull. I'm here representing the Mullen family, and I'm the building manager for them. And we're requesting an easement on the back garage, which is part of the house. We're doing an addition, and it's joined by an alley in back. And we are 9 feet, 8.5 inches. But with the alley's 10 feet, and it's a rarely used alley. And so we're 20 feet from the next house. And so we would like to have that variance to be able to build that there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Now we're going to move on to the public portion of this hearing. If there's anyone from the audience who would like to speak, this is your time. It seems like nobody has any. Is there someone? Hi, yes, if you would like to ask a question or speak to this, you come on up. Please sign in and state your name and where you live.
I'm Gail Blake, and I live at 305 St. Charles Street. And my question is, particularly when you said that that's not a very used alley, it is actually a used alley right there at the, right when you turn, particularly servicing that lady's house over there. And so what exactly do you mean? Are you taking over some of that alley?
No. We're 10 feet from the alley.
Mm-hmm. So where are you exactly asking for a variance?
From the distance from the garage, which is part of the house, to the alley, which is now 10 feet.
So there's already a garage there. Is it your
It's coming
intention,
down.
you're tearing that down and you're not building on the same footprint that's already
No.
there?
The
You're,
garage is gonna be part of the house because of security reasons.
okay, and so is there going to be something else that's also a part of this house? Not just a garage, but?
It's an add-on. The total
Uh-huh.
square footage, counting the existing house, is about 3,400 square feet. And I
Okay.
can give you a breakdown of that if you want.
Well, no, but I do have a question about the trees that are back there. Are those coming down as well?
Just one.
A large tree coming down in the
Can you tell her
middle?
which one? It's on that screen.
Right to the left of the, if you're looking at the garage, right to the left, they suggest for the, top of the roof.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then just attaching it to the back, so it'll be like a little breezeway or a walkway and a porch connected to the back of the house.
Okay. Okay, and then one more thing, so the walls that are showing up there, are those coming down as well?
I'm sorry, which walls, the brick walls?
The brick walls
Yeah,
on,
which I want to keep as much of the wall as possible. They might, see where the right piece is?
yes.
They might have to just
For the record, whoever that is needs to come up so we have it on the record, because we can't hear them.
I think this is Miss Mullen.
Yeah.
Do I need to sign in too? Okay.
One of the things we're doing to maintain the integrity of the house is we're leaving all the existing windows, and we're matching the new windows to the old windows as far as the grid pattern.
Okay. All right, well, I think that was all my questions.
Okay,
So-
I'm sorry, but I was just gonna show you, see that little red, cursor? So our builder, just wanted to,
Would you identify yourself, please, first, and then we're addressing the board?
Yes, I'm Amy Mullen, and I'll be living in the home.
Okay. And you were explaining to Ms. Blake about the wall, that you're going to try to keep as much of the wall as possible, as I understood.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Trying to keep as much of the wall as possible. I am going to try to pull a car into the garage, and so our contractor said he might have to maybe cut off like a foot of that wall and move it to the other side so that I can pull straight into the garage.
Okay, yeah. We couldn't quite understand, we didn't, you hadn't
I understand.
identified yourself yet, and the board needs to hear what you're saying.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, but just as a final note, I would like clarification that that alley is not going to be blocked in
No.
any way, because we actually do use that alley.
Yes, no.
And, okay. Thank you.
Great. Was there anyone else who would like to speak on this? Sir? Yeah. Just sign in with your name and address and state your name and address into the microphone, please.
I'm Richard Blake, and I'm at 305 St. Charles. That was my wife. So a moment ago, you showed us a plot plan of the property, and it looked to me to be the existing plot plan. I'm just trying to get clarification on what, okay, I haven't seen that. Yeah.
Here's a better one. Brian, can you scroll like to the next page, maybe that's where
I'm
Sherry,
sorry.
were you talking to me? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yes. Can you,
Brian, there's a better site plan.
will you
Okay.
scroll through the application some more?
Okay, so that's what was up there
That's, yeah,
when
that's
we
the,
saw earlier.
that's what's currently there. There's one that
Yeah.
shows the addition, Brian. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
Well, that's, yeah, that kind of gives you,
So
there are the
you're-
elevations.
you're
So-
wanting to,
Thank you, Brian.
to put in a two-story addition down the property line that adjoins Nick and Emily? Is that's
There's
what
a
I'm,
bonus rent. over the
okay.
garage.
And that's gonna be 7 foot from the property line, is that correct?
It's almost 10.
Almost 10,
Mhm.
almost 10. Okay. I wanted clarification on what you were trying to do over there, because, and you're gonna enter the garage from the side, I see. So like it is now, okay. I just wanted to see what you had in mind.
Okay.
It looks like there's another person who would like to speak.
I'm Janet Kingsley, and my parking pad is in the alley. My house is on the alley, and it is a very used alleyway. It's not a unused alley, as you described
It
it.
just appeared not used very much. when
I
was
use
there.
it every day. My parking structure goes down the alley, and there is a rock parking pad back there. And that's where all the trash cans are, all of that kind of stuff. But I use it consistently over there. So I'm a little concerned about, how close you're coming to the alley and what, you're gonna be doing with it. And that's the reason I'm here. I'm not trying to make it difficult for you or for me to, build a home there. But when you come down that alley, that's the way I go in and out of my home. And so I'm a little concerned, when you start tearing all of that out, that rock wall on the alleyway isn't gonna make it. If you start doing any kind of construction, it's gonna fall. And so with that, you're not gonna have any, protection on the alley at all. And the alley, when I sit on my front porch, I'll see whatever is there. So I'm just a little concerned about, the aesthetics of the alley. I know it's an alleyway and nobody should be concerned about an alleyway, but when that is the front door of your house, and when you're looking or sitting on your front porch, that's what you see. So, anyway, that's why I'm here. I wanna hear what is being said about the plans for that, because it does, make an impact on the people who already are living there. And I realize that you want a structure, for her safety, and I think that's a concern, and we all need to be concerned about that, but, the placement and, it's not just a garage at that point. It's, a big structure that we all are gonna be looking at. So, anyway, that's my opinion on all of this.
Is there anyone, you're welcome. Is there anyone else? Oh, sir, come up. Feel free to sign in with your name and address, and then state your name and address as well into the microphone.
Good evening.
My name's Nicholas Brown. I live at 309 St. Charles, so I am directly next to the house that's being proposed. I mean, I don't necessarily have a lot of questions. I think just, a few statements. I mean, Gail and Richard at 305, that house has been renovated in the last 5 years. 307 has been renovated in the last, 7 or 8 years. I completed a significant renovation in 2017. So, we're all investing a lot into our homes here in Homewood. And, the proposed build, I mean, the qualitative value of my space, specifically my backyard and deck space, I'm going from right now I have an open air view to, I'm gonna be staring at a 2-story brick wall with windows peering over from up high into my yard and onto my space. And I know it's a negative for my property value from that respect. When we all did these renovations at 305, 307, 309, I'm 309, we abided by the zoning laws. And, I only ask that my neighbors be held to the same laws that I was. So, when we do these projects, I know y'all understand. I mean, we understand that there's these zoning things, and they protect us from some of these things that can be done to, diminish our investments that we've made into our own homes. So, I mean, I've seen the plans. I don't really have any questions about them. I understand them very well. I want y'all to build. I mean, I build a beautiful house that she's going to be happy and safe in. I do. I just, I feel like the existing plans, I can't find a way that it really does anything but diminish the value of my own home.
Thank you for sharing.
I thank y'all.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to say something? It seems like there's no one else, so we're going to close.
I have one other thing to say.
Oh, 1 second. We're going to close the public portion of this hearing, and now we're going to open this up to questions from the board. But you can go ahead now.
Yeah, as far as value, we're adding a substantial amount of footage, and we build first class and everything. And so the value of that house will be more than double what it was. And so the price and value of the house will appreciate the houses in there. So I think they'll be very pleased with the way it looks. Okay?
The existing garage, I understand. Do I understand the existing garage is just going to be leveled?
Yes.
And then starting kind of with a clean slate?
Yes.
Okay. There's no foundation part of the garage you're going to use? Okay. I think one of the things I'm struggling with is, our obligation is to evaluate hardship. And we listen to that, and sometimes it's, there's a huge easement in the backyard that prevents you from building the way you wanted to, or you've got an odd-shaped lot, or some other circumstance. The hardship is, I understand it, is safety. Is that?
Yes.
Is that right?
She lost her husband about 1.5 years ago, and so she lives alone.
Certainly, and I definitely understand that. And the safety part of it, I understand, is you want to have a garage where she could park and enter her house without having to go outside.
Yes.
Okay. I think, I guess, it seems that could be done without going 11 feet into the setback. If that's the sole purpose of this. And I understand there's a lot more structure that's being put there in between, and bedrooms and pottery rooms and things of that nature. But is there anything besides just safety that you're
Well,
offering
you
as
know,
hardship?
it has rooms above it, you know, it's all tied into the main house as far as design and flow. It's not just a garage. But safety is the reason we didn't want to detach a garage.
I think,
I can tell you that I was in Homewood. I'm from Jasper, by the way. I was on the planning commission there for 15 years. And I can tell you, the last time I was in Homewood was on a Saturday afternoon at about 5 o'clock. I parked in front of, just down from Johnny's, in front of that Italian restaurant. I was going to go in that bakery. And when I got out, a guy was meeting me. And I could tell, once he got to me, he was a homeless guy, and made a remark to me, a threatening remark. And so you have people from Southside that come down in here into Homewood that are dangerous people, you know, from a drug standpoint. And so we just want to make sure of her safety, that we do everything that she's protected in her home.
I think we understand the need for safety in an enclosed garage, but I think we're a little blurry on the need for that garage being so close to the property line.
Well, our add-on to the house, you know, it's a single garage.
Yeah.
And, you know, our design of the house, I mean, that we can't get it any further away. And it does join an alley, not another house property.
Yeah, with that, it does seem like the hardship is more that the design of the house doesn't fit in the property more so than the garage. Because the garage can still be a garage without being that close to the property line. It's the design that's pushing the garage so close.
Well, you know, the garage is part of the house and the design. If we can't do the garage there, then we would be starting from scratch.
That's true.
How close is the back wall to the property line?
It's in the minutes here. It's almost 10 feet.
And the reason I ask is, have you coordinated with Alabama Power? Because they require setbacks from their power lines.
Yes.
Being a two-story, you're out of their.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Larry DePano is the builder who builds at Homewood all the time. And he goes over all those restrictions. And, yep.
If there are no further questions, I'll make a motion that we approve and vote on case SV 23-06-01.
Second.
All right, and just for clarification, Mr. Gear will be voting on the second case as a supernumerary in the absence of Mr. Perkle. So Mr. Roberts will be voting on this one, and you'll vote on that second one. All right? Mr. Roberts?
No, sorry.
All right, I'm sorry. Mr. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Alsabrook?
No.
Ms. Childs?
No.
And Ms. Hand?
No. Your request for variance has been denied. We'll now move on to BZA case SV-23-06-02130 Stratford Circle. Please sign in and state your name and address, please.
He took the sheet on accident. If you want me to try to catch him real quick.
Do you mind?
Yeah, I'll run out.
Oh,
Yeah, great. The sign-in sheet.
Sorry for my ball cap. I'm headed straight to coach a baseball game at 7:15. So, Colt Byram, live at 3110 Whitehall Road in Homewood. And for this request, this is for 130 Stratford Circle. And I'm the builder, Byram Building, the president of Byram Building. So we're the GC or the builder on the project. The miners are out of town, so they asked that I present this and be here to field questions. So I'm going to sign in now. All right, I have not seen anything plan-wise that Mr. Miner has submitted to you guys, so if y'all want, I don't know if you want to flip that on the screen. Perfect. This kind of involves two things, but primarily we're looking at the request for the variance for, I guess it's an accessory structure, which would be a wall, a little retaining wall on the left side of the property. And it would be an extension and somewhat of a modification of that on the left side where it says wall 2 foot in. We would extend that wall down the property line, and then on that left side between house and property line, he's wanting to do a little, I guess, kind of patio and make it a little basketball goal area. So in doing that, or I guess how we kind of got here, is between the rear of the house, there's a large retaining wall that you can see that goes on the top of the screen there. Originally, to get our permit, we had the hydro engineering done where the stormwater system sat there in that back of that property. And just after site work was done, after the wall was installed, and to make those systems more accessible, the miners, the owners, would like to move it over to that left side property line. And in doing so, create kind of that little sport court area, and just to make the tanks and the underground system a little more accessible. So, Kale or Sherry, I don't know if there's anything you guys would like to add, as you guys worked with Randall more on this than I have, but I'm here to answer any construction questions or anything else that you guys may have.
great, thank you. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone from the audience who would like to speak on this case, now is your chance. And it looks like there is no one here who would like, or sir, would you like to speak? Come up to the mic and sign in, and please state your name and address.
Good afternoon. I'm William H. Bearden. Our concern is the runoff from the lot. The house covers most of the lot. We've been tolerating flooding, and we have terracotta type drainage surrounding our lot, and it runs into a sump. We got 2 walls up there to prevent runoff. We've got a total of 3 sumps in the yard. The one in the back has been, we've had to just lift stuff off of it. It's, you know, it's a wired guard for it is about, 3 feet long and that wide. That's heavy fencing shaped into this cover. It's been covered some, we just keep having to undo it. Water builds up down there in pools. It's even gone onto the wall and swamped the front side, which is where the house is, at times to where we see water lifting in under our lawn in the garden like we've never seen before. The very back corner of our lot has a gate that's been disfigured to the where it's difficult to open now because somehow the water's caused one side of it to move. The about a 12-foot, 10 to 12-foot width has been totally washed away more than once. And I'd like my wife to address that. She's a master gardener and knows what she's doing. And we've been there 33 years, but it's now a very, very sound garden. And this lot has been giving us hard times. And we know we're acquainted with Colt. He has been over and he knows what we're talking about. My wife taught at Edgewood and taught his older sister more than a year ago, believe me. But I'd like for her to say her piece, but my main concern is we don't know what to expect when it's over. We've had Alabama Powers come out and put up a retaining fabric, I don't know what you call it, below the 14-foot wall they put up on their property, I think 3 to 5 feet in, and they've got a plan to landscape it, and I don't doubt they're going to do their very best. And we know Randall and Chinola, we want to be their neighbors and friends. We don't want to have a conflict, but if it comes down to it and we have to litigate, that's the only thing I'm trying to prepare myself for is if it ever comes to that. We've had, our next door neighbor has had flooding problems in his house. Directly across the street, they've had flooding in their house and they have sump pumps that pump water out. This is before this house was ever built. And then neighbors on down, there's an underwater flow under all of our property that is the reason those sumps are there. And we're just very concerned about that and don't see how covering another area with concrete is going to benefit us in any way. And Randall and Janella's boys are middle schoolers. They'll be gone in 3 or 4 years and they don't need basketball after that. But that's all my concern. And if you could only see it, we've got pictures that have been submitted. I don't know if y'all seen them or not, but that's just our very best effort to try to show. And we've had the city out there, city engineer. We've had Colt's dad out there. We've had Randall out there. We've had everybody that's involved with this to look at it. So if anything ever happens, I don't think there'll be anybody in the dark. Above the fence line, our fence line, we have 3 feet of property line, then there's their property line, then their wall. There are 3 pipes aiming right at our back gate, which for the grace of God, I can't think of how water is going to get down the hill if it doesn't come out of those. And those concern me, plus varying depths from
1 to 3 feet of clay has built up behind these barriers to where I don't know where it's gonna go or how they're gonna get to it. But for horticulture purposes, red clay is not what you want. And they didn't plan on it happening that way, but you saw the film, it just ran off the lot during the course of everything that's gone on, but it's been going on like a year now, and we've known the owner of the previous property and house, and it was purchased and torn down, and this new one built. Hallelujah, it's not gonna hurt my property value, what's being done. It's just drainage. And Jeannie, you will come up here and explain your concern. And I have Johnny Cash's "How High's the Water, Mama?" 2 feet high and rising.
And I know I'm sorry to interrupt, I know we've seen this, but Mr. What's your address,
425.
Okay, Poinciana.
Poinciana.
Okay, that's right.
Behind Shades Power, 3 blocks on the right.
Thank you.
Right, Mr. Bearden's he's an adjacent property owner located to the north, but it's on the downward slope of the subject property.
Thank you.
Our lot's 15-degree slope. Theirs is probably, I don't know, you've seen a picture, it's probably 30 to 35 up before they level it all along. So it's just, I don't know, hard for me to calculate.
Okay, I'm Jeannie Bearden, and I live at 425 Poinciana. Before we had the house built there, my husband had built a sort of a trough that was underneath the power line, so that when the water came down the hill, it would go into the trough and neatly come through our gate down into the sump. When they went ahead and built that wall is when the problem started, because their fabric fencing it held some of the mud that was coming through, but it got up to a level where the water was going over, so it was like waterfalls. And it would run down the side of our line, our yard there, and actually come out of the terracotta piping, because it was just like, it was really kind of strange to see. It was like, you know, waves coming down. It was that forceful. And we've only had those torrential rains. I can remember 3, I guess, this year, but I know we've had them, you know, quite a few times. But Colt has told us that he was going to take care of all the clay and the silt that had accumulated. I don't know how they're going to do it, or I guess they'll have to get a machine or something, because that's pretty heavy stuff. And like my husband had said, right now we see those corrugated pipes at the very top of the wall. I mean, I counted 3 of them and wondered where they were going, because they're not perforated. So when the water comes down, all we can imagine is water pouring out of those holes. So I'm not quite sure, you know, you've got a retention pond in mind. So when that water seeps down into the earth, it's going to go underground, and it's going to go downhill, right? So I don't know what the other alternative is, or if there is one, but water going underground, I mean, I guess it's been going underground for years, but it's going to be more. And that's all I have to say. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. This public portion of this hearing is now closed, and we'll open this up to the board for questions.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So this retention area, you all are proposing to shift it from closer to there. Currently, it's close, the plans have it, the approved plans, I understand it, have it being further, is that further north?
It's north of the house, so
Uh-huh.
between the retaining wall and the house. And
So it's
very
closer, it's closer to the property line between you guys, right?
correct.
And then you're gonna
It's-
move it further south, but how is that moved, 2 questions. One, is it moving, is it changing in height, like above sea level, where it's going to be? Where you're
Slightly.
proposing it going?
So slightly, so yeah, the area kind of behind the basketball goal is kind of roughly where this would go.
And that's been approved?
And maybe, and so there's flexibility in this right now. I would also say that this hearing, I guess, is gonna allow the miners and William Thomas with Shoal Engineering to complete the hydrology plan. Is that the right term?
That's the right term. So
Okay.
we have an approved
Yeah.
hydrology plan.
So that's the approved, I just want to,
Right.
the approved one is further north, correct?
That's right. So I have a copy of it if you'd like to see it.
Oh, I'm not that good at that, I was just curious.
But yeah, so it's in the top right corner of the house, basically,
Yeah.
in the backyard.
So back there, he's correct that we've got some challenges, which is why we built a 14-foot wall of just slope and topography. And the accessibility to that back right corner is just really tough to get to, put the pumps, the basins in, so they're wanting to move it to a little more accessible area. Also, we have had some crazy floods lately, and so, and as Mr. Bearden said, it's always been a control of water from this upper property down to his lower one. I completely understand that through this construction and through some super heavy rains, that he's had some flooding, additional flooding that he hasn't had in the past. But that's before we put the gutters up, pipe them to the system, control the large amount of water so that it trickles out as these systems do. Also, the benefit to moving to that left side is there's a much larger natural area kind of in the bottom left corner. You see the trees, and it goes to a point in that bottom left corner where we're able to send that water instead of down directly behind the wall to the Bearden. So I think there's several benefits to moving it to this left side of the house and letting the water slowly flow out to that area.
So my second part of my question is, if you guys moved it to the proposed location, but there was no hard surface above it, well, first of all, in the original location, was there a hard surface proposed, or was it just grass? Or?
Just grass.
And so if it moved to this new location and there was no hard surface, would you say that would, with this location, hard surface aside from the conversation, is this location going to be less impactful, negative impactful to the Bearden's house or not?
Yes, it would be, yeah, less.
So
they would have, I think we're trending on the same way. I'm trying to figure out how to word it. It's better in this new location than it is down lower close to the wall where, yeah.
But then the question would be putting a hard surface on it. And so the hard surface is what we're discussing, because that hard surface is would be the variance request, is that correct? Or would the location of this be
Is the location of, since it's considered a structure?
The stiffs underground is
No.
considered a structure?
No,
The
not
concrete
that.
pad is an
Right.
accessory
The,
structure.
the variance that they're requesting is for
The
the
pad.
the concrete, it's about the basketball
Right.
court. So that's what the variance is for.
But if the concrete was not a part of this, there would be no variance. The movement of this, of the
Correct.
system is
Oh,
allowable.
right, right,
correct?
right,
Okay.
right.
And then I guess the second question, part of that is, and I might have missed this, so I apologize, but how are you all planning on addressing the additional hardscape that's occurring on the property, I guess?
So that would, because it's right there at the system, that would also be collected by the system. And slowly, filtered out.
They would probably enlarge the system, make it
Yeah.
bigger than what.
Yeah, their engineer would have to look at it.
Take that, and then in the heavy rains we've been having, as far as just how the slope of the court, of the pad would be, and the, is there concern, because obviously, even really large systems with these heavy rains, stuff just is not gonna get in it, it's gonna move, it's gonna move past it. And so, has there been discussions about that, as far as, what happens if the water can't get into the system because the rains are so fast, so quickly, and so heavy?
Sure. I mean, I think the systems are designed, the engineers or I'm not an engineer. I can help put the system in, but the systems are designed for, I think, just like everything, like to control 99% of the rains. There's always going to be a rain that, unfortunately, floods the system, just like there is that floods our sewers, or where water can't get in it. But 99% of the time or more, it's going to handle the water that it's designed for. And the new design or tweak to the design is going to take into account this new court as well. So you're right, it would be enlarged. And that would also be approved by KL, any revisions to that. But yeah, so also to the Beardens, they've been very patient with us, and while we've built, I do know they've had some hardships with excess water coming on them. We have agreed and do plan to get that silt off their property, regrade as needed, and just satisfy them in that. Just haven't been able to do it because we're just now at this point where we're ready to start putting the system in, landscaping, things like that. So it didn't make sense to do it and have to do it again and consistently. So I appreciate their patience through this.
Maybe I have one more question for you, sorry. So I'm looking at the landscape plan that you all had turned in, and help me understand it, but is there any kind of solid wall or anything that, aside from just the system underground that's supposed to be absorbing the rainwater, is there anything that you all will be doing above the surface to prevent water from heading back downhill into their property?
Ms. Bearden spoke about the wall itself and that there's some just relief pipes coming through. We don't plan to pipe anything directly out the wall, either low or high. So those pipes would just be any buildup of water that can't get into the system or can't disperse into the ground. That would have a trickle flow out. Now currently, again, we don't have downspouts. We're not piping it to our system, so there may be more water coming out of them. But the wall has a lot of gravel behind it. It's acting somewhat as retention right now, but no other walls or structures would be added. Potentially one on the back side of that court, but nothing substantial or nothing to stop water necessarily.
And then everything to the what would that be? Everything to the south of that court, is that driveway? Is that
Yes.
non-permeable surface?
Yes. So I don't know how this comes into play. I would like it to be up to Mr. Smith and the engineer, but they are talking to the engineer about potentially doing a like a permeable concrete structure for the basketball court. I would like, again, that to be up to the engineer if that's necessary, design needed. But I did want to mention that.
But, so for clarity, even a permeable sports court would be considered an accessory structure.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just saying for flow.
And I guess just for curiosity's sake, does the amount of then non-permeable footprint that's being proposed here meet city's requirements? Isn't there some sort of requirement for you having, not modifying it?
Yeah, I did a takeoff recently, and it's close, but it's under 50% of the total lot.
Okay.
Motion to vote on BZA case number SV 230602. Second.
All right. All right, then we'll begin. Mr. Gear,
No.
Mr. Johnson,
No.
Mr. Alsabrook,
Yes.
Ms. Childs.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And lastly, Ms. Hand.
No. Your request for variance has been denied.
Is there, am I allowed to get any feedback or suggestions on why or what I could do?
I think that Mr. Smith would discuss that with you, is that correct?
Sure. We can talk through it
Okay,
next week.
thanks.
Now that our cases are closed, do we have any communications from staff?
I don't, other than we had discussed the next meeting, being so
yes.
close to the 4th of July, but as long as we have, I think 2 members have indicated that they will not be able to attend, but if the other members are in attendance, we can have a quorum and have a meeting. So if between then, though, your plans change, if you'd let us know as soon as possible.
Yeah, I won't be here either, Fred. So that
You will not.
sounds like that's 3.
Ah, 3 people go. Well, we'll be in communication. All right.
Great.
I didn't know you, John.
I have something else that is super important, but we had Hill Godwin start with us on Monday. He's our summer intern, so he'll be with us for the next couple of meetings.
Hey, we're excited to have you.
He'll be a senior at the University of Alabama next year.
We love that. With that, I adjourn today's meeting.
And Fred, I will not approve that